Welcome to Waiting on the Trade, a comics book club for people who can't keep up with monthly comics. I'm Matt Ledger.
I'm Patrick Fitzgerald Fleck.
And I'm Suzanne Payne.
This month we're talking about Zodiac Starforce by The Power of Astra, an American take on the magical girl and Super Sentai genres by Kevin Panetta and Paulina Ganushau. And I apologize for the pronunciation on that one. I am sure we did not nail it. Now, in case you all need a refresher, Zodiac Starforce opens with the titular team of magical girls disbanded in the wake of a substantial victory and tragedy. However, when evil rears its head once again, the Starforce soldiers must get back together to battle one of their own. Suzanne, welcome back. It's almost been 2 years, apparently. What the hell?
I know.
I was looking back because I was like, when was the last time Suzanne was on? And I was like, it's Sailor V, and that was like April 2021.
Yeah.
Which would have been when I was like 7 months pregnant or 8 months
Yeah, so
pregnant.
part of it was like we were like, okay, let's let Suzanne have a child, and then we'll ask
Rear
her
a
back.
child, yeah.
Yeah, and then it's just been dealing with that.
Yeah, and then we also had life stuff pop up. So, but
Yeah.
anyways, you are back. I'm glad to have you back.
Yeah.
I was glad to read this book. How did you come across this book? It's one I've heard of, but I had not read prior to this.
So, like, right after you texted me and were asking me if I wanted to come back on, I started to look up. I literally Googled, like, girl power comics because the last
Well, that's
one
going in the show notes, so I'm gonna do that Google search and we'll put it in.
Yeah, so because the last one I did was Sailor V. So I had thought and I talked about Simon. I was like, well, I could just do Sailor Moon, but that would be like almost the exact same thing. And then I mused with Buffy because there's all of like the season 8 with Buffy in the comic
There's
series.
like
And
18 zillion Buffy comics at this point, yeah.
that was the thing too. I was like, would I start at the beginning or wouldn't I? And then I also have a collection of Gem and the Holograms that I really love too, that I read when I was in the hospital with my child giving birth. Um, that has like images by Jen Hartel, and I'm like, oh, I love this one too. But then I was thinking, maybe I find one that I haven't already read or know a lot about because the other two I've already done, I already know a bunch about it. And so I found this one, and then I had also found another one that was like kind of a funny take on D&D and like if you're an adventurer in the real world kind of thing. And I kind of read a little bit of both of them, and then I was like, oh, I like this one. We'll stick with it. So kind of Googling girl power is where it all started.
Nice. Yeah, I was glad you picked this one because like I said, I'd heard about it before and I'd heard good things about it. And I mean, your point of reference for it is more Sailor Moon stuff, but to me, it's Power Rangers nonsense, and I
Oh,
enjoy
yeah.
some good Power Rangers nonsense. So,
Well, and after reading the first volume and like looking into it a little bit, like in the back, it has all of actually, I don't know if in the volume you guys had it had in the back, but it had storyboards and like some stuff from the creators about where they came from to create it. They have a lot of influence from Buffy and Sailor Moon and Cardcaptor Sakura, which is all just like in my wheelhouse too. So I was like, oh, I probably made the right choice here because it combines a lot of things that I already like.
yeah, and I was on Paulina's Twitter today, and there's some Sailor Moon stuff, but like there's Power Rangers stuff in there. Like she's a Power Rangers person too. I think she did a variant cover actually recently for the Boom series. So,
Okay.
um, yeah. Yeah, it's got that good magical Super Sentai stuff.
I just remember too that in like their original thing, they were also trying to go for like a Josie and the Pussycats, Gem and the Holograms meets Scooby Doo gang, where they
Oh
were gonna
yeah.
be like crime solving musicians.
Yeah, the stuff in the back, because the volume I got from the library did have a bunch of the extra stuff in the back, and like it's super interesting because there's so many different takes on these same characters before you get the book that like is the actual series. And that's
Yeah.
really cool to see. It's kind of like it's cool to look behind the curtain and see like, hey, this took like 5 tries to get it to where
It
they
is.
actually wanted it to be. Yeah. Pat, did you enjoy the book?
It was all right.
Yeah, it's fair.
I don't have the infatuation for Sailor Moon or Power Rangers that you guys have. So in that way, it sort of missed the mark for me.
You don't have that transformation sequence gets you pumped just regardless. Nostalgia.
I mean, I can
Nostalgia
appreciate
speed.
a good transformation scene, but yeah, it doesn't hit the nostalgia nerve as much as yours, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, any transformation scene that has anything remotely to do with like the Sailor Scouts or Cardcaptor Sakura or even like the Power Rangers, it just like gets you going. Like, oh yeah, they're doing the thing.
The thing is happening.
They're eating up runtime so they don't have to reanimate stuff. Yeah.
Oh my
Yay.
god, they said the name of their moves. All right, so Suzanne, this is your first time doing our new podcast format, which theoretically keeps us from going on tangents for 10 minutes.
It's worked flawlessly thus
But
far.
we'll see. And as it's your first time here, and I think your discussion question might be the correct first discussion question, I think we will take yours first. So Suzanne, what is your question?
So my question was, what do you think happened in the dramatic final battle that occurred before the story? The only thing that we're like alluded to is that Emma's mom and a bunch of other people died.
Yep. It got real.
But it also seems like no one cares that all these people really died. Like,
Well, it was apparently 2 years ago, which I think, if I didn't, like, I may have missed it the first time I was reading, or I may have just forgotten. I would reread the book quick before we jumped on the call. And like, so I guess people are kind of past it, which is weird. But
yeah,
I
but
think it's been 3 years. Like they were freshmen and now they're seniors.
I think they said 2 years at near the back of the book, so I guess it must have happened in their like sophomore year or whatever. But yeah,
yeah,
I also think they're seniors at this point.
I was confused when I first started if they were in high school or if they were in college.
I did
Because,
get like I did trip on that for a second too.
yeah, because she's like in the library at night, and I'm like, who would be hanging out at the library at night
No one's in the
in,
high school library at night. Yeah.
yeah.
Is the high school library even open at night?
No, they like the schools close at a certain time, like even as a teacher. Like you're only allowed to stay there till a certain time.
I was gonna
But
say maybe it's a fancy private school, but it's specifically a public high school, it says here, so I got nothing. I'm out.
yeah, I don't know, but Buffy, they were always at the high school, like just random hours. But
Yeah, but they had
or
Giles with them, right?
yeah, Giles was also like kind of had keys to the building and stuff and all that jazz. So that kind of goes against it.
So the dramatic final battle to me is like, and again, I guess this entire podcast is gonna be me just like referencing Power Rangers stuff. But to me, it's like it's a Power Rangers season finale battle where like everything gets wrecked and the bad guys are mostly winning, and then the good guys turn the tide. Like the command center gets blown up. I don't know if they have a command center. I feel like we didn't get as much lore as I was hoping
There's
to actually in this
That's
volume.
where I'm at. Yeah.
there's
I
more in the
knew you would be
second
the same way,
volume.
Pat. Yeah, I kind of thought there'd be more in the second volume, given that it looks like we're getting a second/third Zodiac Starforce team
Yeah,
from the
but
epilogue.
it doesn't go the same way I thought it was gonna go with the lore.
Okay, interesting. I'm not gonna ask about that because I might read the second one, but I
Okay.
want to ask about that, but I'm not
I
going
know.
to.
I mean, it kind of goes with like my feelings of like the dramatic final battle or what really occurred before this story. For me, for some reason, it makes me feel like they made allusions to like her mother, like Emma's mother, the main protagonist characters here, of being a part of the Zodiac Starforce previous,
I
and
definitely got that vibe too from the first
that
volume.
like it was kind of like a sacrificial thing that happened, like that Emma's mom didn't need to die in this big battle that happened, but she gave up her powers. What like this is like what happens to Angemon and Digimon, right? Like he defeats
Oh
Devimon
yeah,
by giving up his. By the way, my daughter's favorite stuffed animal right now is a Patamon stuffed animal.
Adamon.
nice. Big
Well,
Patamon fans here on the podcast.
yeah, my favorite.
Boom, bubble, pop.
Like in my mind, I was like, so is this something that's like her mom had the power and was like the person who like started the basis of them going into the Zodiac Starforce, and it was a self-sacrifice sort of thing, and then a reveal of the girls. That was the only way like I could get it going, but I still was like, well, it still doesn't make sense that after this happened, the girls would just like fully disband from each other and be like, we're not friends anymore.
I mean, I think part of the reason they disbanded is they thought they were done, right? Like, it wasn't just
Yeah.
that Emma's mom died. They apparently closed their last portal. So my problem with the book at this point, well, one of my problems is like I don't know what evil lady whose name I forgot. Oh my god, I just read this book 2 seconds ago.
Maria.
Yeah.
Yeah, like what does she want? Like what does she actually
What
want?
does Astra want?
Another good question. So like this is where I'm at is like trying to figure out what happened in the final battle comes down to like okay, well what are those two Astra it seems like just wants to stop Samaria, but I don't know what Samaria wants.
And it's
It's like we're
what
going to
is
take over the world, but sure, like why? Like how? Like what does that look like?
yeah, it's kind of like Pinky and the Brain's motive, right? Like,
Yeah, but
Yeah. Yeah,
but
actually.
yeah, like you don't really understand what the stakes are, so then it never feels like there's a big danger happening. Pat,
And
what
even
did
when
you
you
think?
Oh yeah, go
Go
ahead,
ahead.
Pat.
oh hey, how's it going?
Go ahead, Pat.
No, I mean, I think going back to your question, I think you're probably right about like the self-sacrificing thing. Maybe I was thinking maybe everyone's parents got kidnapped because it seems to be a thing. Like the big bad would do
Oh,
that,
that does happen actually. That's a Power Rangers thing.
or like
I
not
mean,
maybe like siblings for some, and
yeah,
parents for other. Maybe a
family.
grandparent in there somewhere. You know?
Yeah.
It definitely wouldn't be Kim's dad. Kim and her dad don't get along,
Yeah.
just so you know.
So I'm seeing that. I don't know if her mom was. You guys were thinking that her mom was a prior.
I thought she might be a prior Zodiac Starforce thing. I didn't think she still had powers at the time of the battle. Like I figured it didn't seem like she was killed as a direct result of wherever they were. Because I think if she was there, like they would have saved her.
Yeah,
But
I
I
mean,
don't know.
they make mention to like Emma, like don't like put yourself in front, like don't put yourself up for granted like your mom did or something like that. Like they make reference to like the fact that her mom could have possibly had a choice as to what happened. It
Mm,
was confusing to say the least.
Yeah, I think Pat, your vibe that like loved ones had been rounded up is potentially a thing that could have happened because that's definitely a trope, right?
yeah.
Well,
So.
and then mother's love is a trope too. Harry Potter.
True.
Yep. But yeah, it's hard to tell exactly what happened because the whole like sketch of what the lore looks like and the motivations and like how even Astra and Samaria interact is just like a little bit too sketchy by the end of this first volume. I think to pick that apart.
Yeah, it seems like it was still a work in progress and that they hadn't fully determined what their initial background was going to be, especially when you see all their different like variations that they thought about.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, because one of the questions for me is like, so Diana is somehow the part of the first Zodiac Starforce team, right? And she's
Yeah.
immortal, but she
Yeah.
just shows up now. Like, why?
Yeah, that's
Where's
what
she
I'm
been?
like. She's been fucking with Zodiac Star Forces for forever, and yet our Star Force didn't know. Like Astra didn't say, "Oh, and by the way,
Oh, hey,
keep
by
an
the
eye
way,
out
there's another one
for."
of these people out here. I mean, Astra's the worst, actually, which leads into
Yeah.
my answer for my question.
Also gets into mine too. Just like what? What? You're a soldier. You're gonna die. I can't do
That's
anything.
interesting. I think
Get
for
out
my
of my
question,
realm.
we're going to have two total answers between the three of us, I would guess.
I don't like.
But also, anyways, it'll be interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I,
like as far as what do you think happened in the dramatic final battle?
I
Not
want
entirely
more
sure.
lore. I want more. Like they just hint at the stuff that I care about, and then they've got the weird like fan club scenes that does nothing
Yeah.
for me, and I basically just skipped through that. It's like,
Yeah,
okay,
it was kind of not
this
super
girl
necessary.
peering at Kim from the bushes repeatedly, and then it's just a fan club. It's like, okay.
Did you guys notice at the end that like a bunch of stuff just disappears? There's no actual explanation of how the problems are solved.
Yeah, it just like stops.
So like Emma is no longer infected. Diana is somewhere.
She's not
She's
dead.
powerless, so we don't have
But-
to worry about her anymore.
Sure, but like that doesn't.
Nope.
What? And why?
powerless.
And they're all just friends again. Everything's cool. And
So that's the one thing I actually bought because they actually went like that's the journey of the whole story that makes sense and was actually focused on. So like that I'm okay with. I get it. But so much of the danger is just wrapped up without actually being resolved
Mhm.
in a way that it feels like this could have easily been a 6-issue mini instead of a 4-issue mini. Like if you give us a little bit more of the lore, if you actually resolve the conflict at the end, like
I need some world building.
actually see Astra just the once, right?
Yes.
In the first issue.
Yeah, just like that one time where they go when they're like, she needs help, and she's like, shit, I don't like, you're gonna die.
It's like, I don't know. You're a soldier. We'll just die.
Die. Just die already.
Why?
Yes,
Why?
you're dead.
Oh god. But yeah, they just like hint at the world building, and it drove me insane.
I actually was thinking that specifically today when I was rereading it, Pat. I was like, I bet this book actually kind of made Pat furious.
The shots of the Victorian Zodiac Starforce, that was cool. Yeah. It's like, what? Yeah. That's awesome.
Or
give
even
me
like
more. What is that? And like, I guess Diana, like Diana's like a knight, which I didn't really get first time looking at her, but I think they should have leaned into the armor more than they did. But,
yeah, a little bit more.
But it's like, okay, that's awesome. Show like the Crusades with the Zodiac. Like, come on.
Each of the issues open with like 1 to 2 pages of a previous Zodiac Starforce team. Oh, ooh.
Just to get little snippets to keep you engaged, right?
Yeah, and like you get to see Astra show up maybe a little bit too, and like you get to learn a little bit more about maybe why she's such a dick.
Or like, yeah, build up like maybe they show them like fighting in the first issue, and like the back is them as zombies to like hint at like Chimera or Samaria, whatever her name is. Like they do some dark stuff. Like, I'm here for this. This is going the way I wanted to go. Oh, what is this? What is this nonsense about a fan club? What? Okay, never mind. Never mind.
Yeah, it is like weirdly riding a line between trying to be like a grown-up version of the genre and then not at the same time.
Like those zombies are creepy for a Saturday morning cartoon that everything else seems to be.
Yeah.
So I don't know. The tone went everywhere for me.
Yeah. It's not focused for sure.
They start with Emma saying, this is serious, people die, and then it's never really brought up again throughout all of this. It's like,
yeah, no one else dies, right?
Are people dying right now? People seem to be having fun while fighting these monsters, but are there civilians being torn apart in the background we're not seeing?
People die in the second volume. Like,
okay, good. I'm glad.
There's at least three like murders I can think of.
Oh, okay. See, I'm getting
enticing.
Intrigued. I might read the second one. It might get me. We'll see. It might depend how the rest of the discussion goes. Pat, do you think we should move on to your question or my question?
Let's
maybe Matt's.
Yeah, let's do Matt's.
Hinted at it.
Okay. So, who is your favorite member of Zodiac Starforce? I want you to go first, Pat.
Diana.
Yep.
Yep. Really? You guys both like Diana?
That's my edgy not real answer is Diana. And I have
that's my real answer.
I know it's your real answer. I honestly I think I have both of yours.
My fake one is Savanna.
I want to know what Matt thinks mine is.
I think yours is Kim.
Yeah.
Yeah. My edgy answer is Diana because she's correct, and my real answer is Kim because Kim's the coolest one of the actual 4.
No,
I will also
Savannah.
say, like, going into the second volume, Kim is the only one that also gets, like, dimensions to her character, because, like, in the first volume, like, she's kind of that, like, uh she's almost a comic relief, right? She's kind of like the burly, like, "Oh, get out my way," kind of thing.
A
But then,
little
like,
bit, but she is also like the glue of the team.
yeah, like, right? And then in the second volume, like, you just learn a little bit more about, like, her as a person and her personality, and the relationship with her boyfriend is amazing. Like, that he calls
Even
in the
in this
middle.
volume, I love so much that there's just no drama there. It's just they just work and are awesome. Like I think
Yeah.
we talked about this a little bit in our Heartstopper episode, Pat, where I'm just like, I think I might just be over relationship drama stuff. I don't know. I just want stuff to work. I just want people to love each other and have supportive relationships.
Yeah, and, like, her and her boyfriend have that, and, like, in the middle of a battle, they call each other just to check up, and they're like, "Oh, I love you so much." They're like,
Yeah.
"Yep, you be safe." And, like, in the second volume, he's still amazing, and, like, their whole relationship is just a great relationship to see. They have no stress, no turmoil. They're just good for each other.
Yeah, which I think you can get away with when there is like at least one other relationship that does have some drama, at least. Which I guess
Yeah,
potentially leads into Pat's question later, but it's not time yet. But
I would say, well, because it's interesting. I would say that Savannah's, like, my second that I like, and I'm not really sure, like, why, but I feel like, Emma's just, like, I don't
we'll
know, the
say I
normal.
was gonna make us do a on the count of three, say your least favorite, and I was pretty sure we'd all just say Emma, right?
I mean, she's just kind of
Probably.
blah for being the protagonist, and then I can't even remember the ponytail girl's name.
I'm trying to.
Molly?
Yeah,
Is it
Molly.
Molly?
Oh yeah, I like Molly. Molly's my second favorite
Okay. I
of
was
the
like,
Why?
real
"Why?"
crew.
I was like, "Why don't I know her name?" Um,
She doesn't get as much to do in this book, I think, as the
and
other
oh,
three, honestly.
and
I like her design.
they change her design in the second volume.
Oh, interesting.
Molly's. Oh.
Yeah, so, like, in this first volume, she's very much, like, in of Asian descent, right?
Mhm.
And she has,
Mm.
like, the dark hair and the upturned eyes. And in the second volume, they kind of minimize her eye, quality
Oh,
to make it so that it's more rounded, and they take her hair from being that black to a red.
Oh, huh.
interesting. Do they keep
So
Kim's hair red as well?
yes, but they add tone to her hair. So
Hmm.
instead of it being like this flat red, it has like an orange to a red kind of ombre effect, if you understand
Okay.
what ombre is, right?
Yeah, she's kind of got
Sure.
that in this volume a bit, right?
Yeah, they just like zhuzh it up a bit more. And
Okay.
then
I guess
um
Savannah's hair is also sort of pink too. So
I'll say that's like
Savannah's
everyone's hair is just red at that point.
yeah.
they in the second volume they make Savannah's hair much more Ariel red color.
Okay.
Okay.
And they especially change it a bit more when they're in their Zodiac costumes to be a little bit more zhuzhy and a little bit more like spectacular, if that makes sense.
I'm rereading the confrontation between Emma and Samaria. Emma just decides not to be tricked by her at the end. It's so annoying. It's like,
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
is not infected for no reason. Anyways, let's circle back to talking about why Diana is the best member of Zodiac Starforce. It's because Astra sucks, right? Diana's right.
I mean, yeah, for sure.
I was trying to see if they said what sign Diana used to be.
I don't know if they do actually, because
Let's see.
I don't think the colors map either. Because I was trying to figure that out today, because they show that one picture of her old team, but I don't think the colors all
Yeah,
mapped
Yeah.
correctly.
she's turned away. You don't see the zodiac symbol on
Yeah,
her
because
armor.
I know at like one point she's like, I was the blah 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 of the Zodiac Star Force, but I think she just meant that like she was the leader, not that she was that
She does
member.
have Emma's sword in
She
these
might
panels of their
be
team.
Gemini.
So I would guess Gemini, yeah.
I mean, it would make sense. Gemini is the twins. So if she was good and then turned evil, that would
Yeah, that tracks,
show off
right? And
your
then there's
friends.
a good one and a bad one right now in the present too.
Yeah.
Diana's attack is also the coolest attack. Her text
Dark
bubble
Eclipse.
has a moon in it, so I mean, that's pretty good.
She shouts out her attack name and it's cool as shit. I
Yep.
like it.
Yeah, Pat, is that why you picked Diana? Is basically because Diana is right about it, everything?
She's literally the only character with depth in this first volume. So like, she has a background and motivation for what she's doing. So
Yeah,
yes, she was my favorite.
that's fair.
Everyone else is just doing it because it's the quote unquote right thing to do, I guess. Because a strange entity calling themselves a goddess gave them powers, and they accept it, I guess.
Like you do, Pat.
Oh boy.
But
But yeah. Is it a good time jumping to mine?
Sure.
I guess so,
Sweet.
yeah.
All right. So my question was, if you were Savanna, would you be happy that the girl you have a crush on is now a member of Zodiac Starforce?
Unknown. It's not. It's a. It's a. Huh. It's a thinker.
Yeah, because I mean, like obviously they've all made comments about how they haven't had anyone to talk about their stuff with. But then Kim's like, yeah, I tell my boyfriend everything. He just knows anyway.
Which
Uh,
again, chef's kiss.
yeah. And I mean, I also just their kind of relationship thing is kind of like the problem with a lot of like rom-coms and like Disney movies, right? That it's like instant love. Um
Mm.
and
You didn't like the meet cute with the food pile?
I'm
What it
not
was?
sure.
Yeah.
Well, because Savannah also had a boyfriend at that point, and then it kind of brings back like Ross and Rachel vibes because I've been watching a lot of Friends recently. And
Sorry.
it's like, did she ever actually like, did she break up with her boyfriend? Were they on a break? And I don't know. It's just, it's also one of those things where like, although it's nice to have things that you do with your significant other, there's also nice to have things that you don't do with them, right?
Sure.
As a person who's been annoying their wife the entire day with his manic up till 2 a.m. drink a lot of coffee energy, I don't know what you're talking about, Susan. Just literally, I've been down in the basement working most of the day, and I just need some time, some uninterrupted time to work on stuff today. Because apparently I've been bouncing upstairs and just like off the walls, so can't relate.
Whereas like it is nice to have like those things set aside, right? And like to be able to share in the experience. I don't know if I would necessarily like it all the time because I mean, you never want to see your significant other also put themselves in danger. And then that also does lead into the whole issue of like, is this going to cause trouble when there's fights that are happening because you're going to be overprotective of each other? And then that just throws a whole slew of drama into the, you
I mean, the
know.
real issue is that they're teens, right? Like,
I mean, that's true too,
like
right? How
how long is
long
this thing gonna last?
is it going to be a Buffy and Angel sort of thing, or is it going to be like a DJ Tanner and Steve. Like they break up, get back together, break up, get back together.
Pat, you haven't answered your own question yet.
I would be horrified. I mean, I don't know if Savannah is like fully like understanding the situation she's in. The fact that when they went to meet their goddess, she refers to them as soldiers
Yeah.
and has
Oh, that's where you're
zero
coming from. This girl's gonna die.
zero. Yeah, like she's a child soldier now, like to be used by this entity until she's dead, and she has no remorse or empathy for the like horrors she's putting these children through.
It happened through the power of love, Pat.
And that's another thing. Like, was she always going to be Libra? Like, was she always destined to become Libra, or is
So
it like
here's the thing
some?
I noticed on read through number 2. In the epilogue, there's the 6 things, right? Like the
And it says
6.
deceased.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and their Libra's dead. So I wonder if
Yeah,
like it was literally the moment their Libra died is when.
we got a free slot.
Yeah,
But
right?
then
Like, okay, get that new Red Ranger in here.
but then like also didn't it seem like it was like a predestined kind of thing too? Like that they had already gone through this life before of the two of them being those two characters.
Oh, you think it's that kind of thing? Maybe.
I don't know. Well, after reading the second volume, I do not think that is the case. But when I read the first
Sure.
volume, it was just like, so is this just like a constant like Zelda Link Ganon?
See,
Like
that's the shit
relationship?
I'm into. That's
Reincarnate.
the shit
Yeah.
like
And I
Give you
felt
give you
that
something.
give me
I thought that
something.
would be like kind of an interesting, cool thing too, right? Like it's always written in the stars. These two are always meant to end up together. Then it's a little different, right? But then you're like,
Yeah.
oh, there was a different Libra that is now deceased that took over.
Savannah's
So,
Aquarius? No.
um,
Pisces?
Pisces? Yeah, there we go.
no, Pisces is
Pisces.
Savanna,
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
we're trying to figure out.
and then Lily is Libra.
Libra, yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't know enough about zodiac signs and stuff.
See, I don't either, and I was gonna look some
Pisces and
stuff up,
Libra,
but
like, are they good match?
I know Libra's
Compatible?
about balance.
Libra's about balance, and I believe Libra's an air sign, and then Pisces is a water sign. And I feel like technically it's opposites that are supposed to be like really good together.
Well, Google says Libra and Pisces make wonderful romantic partners. So
Well, there you go. It's all fine.
Okay.
Google says it's fine, Pat.
Do do you guys know what your zodiac sign is?
I'm a Gemini, I believe.
Yes.
I
Because
am
end
a
of May.
Scorpio.
Are you Scorpio or you're Sagittarius?
I
No,
am
you're
a
not
Scorpio.
Sagittarius. Sagittarius is too far. So I'm a Leo. Have you guys ever looked into like the supposed characteristics of your
Absolutely
zodiac
not.
sign?
No.
At one point I did, but I always feel like those are so vague that you could just like they're a moving target. You could just bend them to apply to anyone basically.
So, like, when I was first reading this through, I wondered if each of the characters were going to have characteristics of their zodiac signs too. So, like, Emma would be two-faced in that case because of Gemini. Like, she would be going back and
Yeah.
forth because she's a twin. But then there's also this whole thing with astrology where it's not just what your zodiac sign for when you were born, which is called your
Isn't it like rising and that
yeah,
kind of
so there's
stuff?
rising and fall. So there's
Yeah.
your rising sign, your falling sign. There is also like your outward sign and your inward sign. There's like 9 different things. And there's also like
My
where
God, it's a
was
D&D alignment chart.
essentially like, and then there's also like where Venus was when you were born and everything like that. And when Emmy was born, I kind of like got into that a little bit because she was born on the day when even though um her sun sign was Gemini, it was the one time of the year that her moon sign was the complete opposite. So or no, her sun sign's Cancer, and then the her like moon sign was Sagittarius, and they're like completely opposite like personality traits and stuff like that. And it was supposed to signify like a transitional time in your life when you would make your work and your like career lives not as important as your family lives. So it's just like a really weird kind of thing that happened at the same time. But the girls do not follow
Yeah, I thought maybe like
anything.
the weapons they used would, but it really didn't seem like it
No, I
It's
mean
all that
like
there's
much.
the heavenly bull armor, I guess, and
the
And
Savannah
water
wind.
has the
control.
water stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
And
But
then
Molly's just got a laser beam.
yeah, and
And
she's
portals.
Aries. Yeah, she's Aries, which is like the sign of war. Like she should be the one that has the sword,
Shields and yeah.
right?
Yeah, and like
And like
okay,
the
so here's
Gemini
a
thing only came into effect like she did a twin attack thing at the very end.
yeah.
Yeah.
So what if a team doesn't have an Aries? Do they just not have the ability to make portals? This is the shit that I need answers
Yes.
to.
Right? Well, like, okay, so Zordon in Power Rangers he cared about the Rangers, right? There were like
Yeah.
development where he like showed
Yeah, he actually talks to
empathy
them
and
and is like,
caring.
okay, yeah, like like, oh, that's too bad. Sorry for your teen life, but we've got Rita. Like he's like a little bit of a dick, but not nearly as much. Though in the comics, which, God, this whole episode is me jumping ahead of myself. But in the comics,
What do you
that
recommend?
Boom has been doing recently. You do get a secret first team of Power Rangers that Zordon had, which
Ooh.
he was a little bit more dickish to. So
And he learned that he needs to care about the drama, otherwise they go insane.
otherwise they go to the moon and die.
Shit.
I mean, that would make it more interesting too, right? If like they were chosen based on like that they really showed a very
I mean, that's
like
why would you do Zodiac and not lean into it more?
right?
Maybe I just don't know enough. Maybe they are. Like, why is Libra's weapons? I don't even know what they're called.
I mean, Libra is the
Hanfa or
scales.
something they're called.
Yeah. Like when they showed up, it's like, oh, what are her? Oh, they're sticks. What? Lame.
Well, there are two of them, Pat.
Lame.
Balance in all things.
Lame.
It is called
That's-
Tanfa. Killing
I
it.
mean,
Way
like
to beam.
I feel like you could find like weapon symbols that could go along with it, or like I mean, there's so much that's done in the astrology way, and so many things that like are alluded to with the zodiac signs
Sure.
that I mean, it feels like it's a missed thing, but also maybe it was something where they wanted to elaborate on it eventually, but
Yeah, or not fall into the stereotypes potentially too, right? Like if we
maybe.
had read it and everyone was like exactly how they were supposed to be, we'd be having the opposite discussion, right? I feel
I
like.
guess,
True.
but this was so full of tropes to begin with. Like, why
Yeah,
draw the
I mean
line
it
there?
falls back into the where is the lore part of it, right?
Where is
Like
it?
it's our big I think it's our big miss in this is where is the deeper stuff once you get past the initial pink and swords and energy beams and transformations.
Yeah.
Those Victorian Zodiac Starforce. That's what I want
Like
to. I
they're
want to know.
cool looking, right?
I want to know.
I
And
do
oh
actually
my
really want the
god.
scene now where Savvy's like, "Oh shit, I made you a Zodiac Starforce soldier. What did I
Yeah.
do?"
Well, like in this
I hadn't
comic
even
book, they
thought of
show
that,
us.
Pat.
They show us that Samaria has coffins of all the previous dead Zodiac Starforces.
Well,
Like
it's not
that's
Yeah.
even
the
that, right? Like,
future.
I think maybe if you're part of Zodiac Starforce already at this point, you've sort of accepted, hey, I am part of this thing, but to have now brought this person who you have somehow and instantly fallen in love with into it, and like not even to recognize it, yeah.
They don't even talk about how cold Astra is to them. Like,
The fact that there's no ending conversation with Astra, I sort of get it because they're avoiding her, but I also like, how is there no like resolution of that at all in this volume? Again, it feels like it could have easily been a 6-issue miniseries.
Yeah. Or just had a something to give us a little bit more of a
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, that's why like I got the second volume. I was curious to see if I would get any answers.
just referring to them as soldiers, like that would just terrify me. Why does it not terrify any of these other girls?
It only happens like the once, right? So maybe she hasn't done it before. She's been keeping that on the down low.
And they're silly girls that don't
I-
respond.
People are dying, but let's do the fun fighting thing with our powers. Yeah, I wanted to have this series commit somewhere, and they don't quite do it anywhere. At least not enough for me.
Yeah, no, I think that's valid, honestly. And I think having talked about it as a group, like I feel that a little bit more than I did even just reading it myself.
Yeah, that was like the main thing I brought up to Simon was that like I wanted the lore, but I couldn't find it. And they even talked about like having a web comic that talked about how they got their powers, and I couldn't find that either.
I think
So
that's
that
the
was
thing that's in the back of the. Oh no, because you're right. It's because it is in the back of the book that they mention that, but then the thing that is
yeah.
in the back of the book is not that.
No, and like I tried searching it. Mind you, did I try super hard? I don't know, probably not. Um,
Yeah, I'll see if I can track it down. I mean, so there's the second volume of this, and as far as I
mhm.
know, there will never be a third volume
Yeah,
because
why?
They
There's
were sued by a person who just sues anyone who has Zodiac in the name of their
Oh
like fictional
no.
story.
when I
It's this
started to type it in, I saw law force or not law force, lawsuit right
lawsuit.
away.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh,
Yeah, so this guy who like I think self-published a book called Zodiac Knights 2000 featuring Creatures of the Nights, a new era, has apparently since then like just been suing anyone who makes something that looks like a Zodiac based team series. So like they even
Wow.
sued Toy Animation for Knights of the Zodiac, which is like the English version of Saint Seiya,
yeah, which has been like Knights of the
which has
Zodiac
been
has
around for
been
forever, yeah.
like since at least the 80s.
Yeah, so like good luck, friend. But apparently the lawsuit was substantial enough and like would have cost enough money to fight that
Oh, that's dumb.
they decided that it's better to just pack it in and move on. So
Yeah.
that is too bad. Because there like I do think there is something here. Like it was fun. Like it was fun to read and I feel like it could have like it hasn't quite found its legs yet in the first volume, but I think it easily could. So
Sure.
Yeah, they had enough like drive and ideas about it for sure that I
I mean,
think they
definitely
could
passionate
have.
about it, right? There's 5 versions of the thing before you get this version of the thing.
It's a fun read for sure,
Sure.
right? But it was disappointing because I
Wasn't what you
thought
wanted.
yeah, it wasn't what I craved.
Sure.
What do
Uh,
you crave,
Well, yeah,
Suzanne?
if you were
Tell the
if you were going
listeners
to
what they should read
suggest
instead.
a good craving, what would you suggest people read?
I mean, if you want a fun thing, I guess, or like anything that has lore that's explained, I guess, at the same time. Because, right, you get the
So
lore
fables?
from,
What'd you
I mean, Fables, right? They have so much lore in
say? So
Fables.
much lore.
But then even like, even Sailor Moon has that lore in there,
Oh
right?
yeah.
And then, I mean, even with Buffy, you have the lore of there's the chosen girl every generation.
Some people just don't have the lore gene also. I mean,
I
as a
mean,
person who has written some stuff like in the genre, like it can be tough to work it in naturally. So, Pat, did you have a recommendation for
I
people who
did,
enjoyed this book?
actually. Um I don't know what it was. Recently I've been just perusing. I think it was because we did Heartstoppers. I don't know. I just kept going on Tapas to see what else there is. There's a series called Magical Boy, which is very similar. It's the same trope as Sailor Moon, except the main character's trans. They were born
oh,
female and they've decided they aren't anymore, but they still have a destiny to be the woman warrior to save the realm from evil. And like it's Sailor Moon, but Sailor Moon doesn't want to be Sailor Moon.
she
It was
wants to
fun.
Interesting.
be,
Yeah.
so Sailor Moon doesn't want to be Sailor Moon. They want to be Tuxedo Mask.
Yeah. Sort of.
Nice.
Some
It's very
people
cute.
think Tuxedo Mask is better than Sailor Moon.
What? That's not right.
I mean, he doesn't do anything. Why would you ever say that?
So my
Uh,
recommendation was gonna be the Boom Power Rangers series, but we already talked about it, so I'm gonna sneak another one in. The conversation we had actually of this like not knowing what it quite wants to be and like leaning dark for a second, but then leaning out of it reminded me of the anime you recommended to me, Pat. It's like Madoka Magica is like what
oh,
this book
yeah.
wants to be at moments, I think. And also really doesn't want to be because I think this book actually wants to be more heartfelt and wholesome than that. But it's
Madoka
just
gets heartfelt. Come on. You're crying
yes
at
and
the end of
no.
Madoka? Come
I
on.
So
mean, yeah, but not the same way.
when I tried to watch Madoka Magica, it was when I had pneumonia and I was on really intense,
Oh boy, that was
like
probably a trip.
medication.
Madoka Magica is a good recommendation. I was going to say that as well.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think if you're interested in the taking it darker route, that's a good recommendation. If you're just interested in like
It takes a logical look at what like an entity giving you power in exchange for being a soldier
Pat,
would mean.
I
I mean, yes,
understand.
true. I
I
do
get it. I watched the show. I made it through that first episode with that girly voice. And then you figure out that show knows exactly what it's doing.
It did exactly that. Oh my god, it's so good because it. Yes. No.
Yeah.
But if
I
you
mean,
want
you
something that's a bit
also
more like wholesome and straightforward, and also it does expand on its lore a little bit, the Boom Power Rangers series is for you.
I mean,
I got
honestly,
two channels for you here.
I would even say Steven Universe has
Oh,
Yeah,
similar
this has
feels
big
to
Steven
this.
Universe vibes.
yeah. I mean, you could
So,
also go into like Cardcaptor Sakura too.
oh sure. I mean, any of
Card
those, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, Cardcaptor Sakura, I feel like sometimes takes a little bit more of a darker turn depending on some of the cards.
Mhm.
And I think like she is kind of just like stuck in it because it's not something that she was like destined really to do or something that she takes on. It's just like thrown at her,
Oops.
unfortunately.
Oops, I opened this book.
Yeah, you know.
We've recommended everything and the kitchen sink. So I think that is good to it for this month's discussion of Zodiac Starforce. As always, if you want to get in touch with Pat or myself, you can email us at waitingonthetrade@gmail.com. You can also find more comics-related goodness at mattreadscomics.com. Suzanne, are you still at the point in your life where you want people to find you on the internet, or have you joined the Hermit Club with us?
I mean, I post mostly pictures of my daughter and of my cat. So it is what it is. I don't really post anything other than personal stuff.
Next time we will be reading Rogan Gambit Ring of Fire by Kelly Thompson Pear Perez with guest host
Um,
Tyler Marifke.
when you said Gambit, I was like, is it X-Men Gambit? Like Cajun
Oh yeah, it's
Gambit?
X-Men Gambit. Yep.
It is? Oh, I love him.